When you cease communication with a woman, her silence will not remain vacant for long. Initially, she'll feign indifference. She'll scroll, laugh, post stories that proclaim detachment. Yet beneath that composed facade, she's mentally reviewing every interaction, seeking to discern where she relinquished influence. Because when a man falls silent, a woman begins to register all she previously overlooked. 1. Her ego will respond before her heart. When you stop talking to a woman, the initial reaction stems not from her heart, but her ego. At first, she won't acknowledge the pain. She'll appear composed, even thriving. She'll share something audacious, something that declares, "I've moved on." You might observe her heightened online activity, engaging with unrelated content, perhaps even stories seemingly directed at you. But it's not genuine contentment. It's distraction. It's her ego attempting to reclaim authority over what she abruptly forfeited. You see, silence transcends mere absence of words. It signifies no validation, no affirmation. And for a woman accustomed to your presence, that void weighs more profoundly than anticipated. She'll act as if she hasn't noticed. But she has. She registers that your name no longer appears. She senses the stillness. She'll begin overanalyzing minor details. Did I overstep? Why hasn't he inquired about me? Is he involved with another? In the evenings, that's when it truly resonates. That's when her thoughts begin revealing truths she resists. That she forfeited someone who genuinely valued her. But she won't concede that yet. Instead, her pride will resist. She'll share messages on self-empowerment or independence, hoping you'll notice. She'll strive to convince herself she's unaffected. Yet the harder she tries to demonstrate it, the more she reveals her unease. And this is the elegance of silence. It directs her focus inward. It compels her to confront what she's evaded. Not your words, not your attention, but herself. The woman who believed she understood you now recognizes her error. She can no longer interpret you. She cannot direct your essence. And that forfeiture of influence, that's what stings deepest. When a man stops talking, he eliminates her reflection. She's left gazing at her own image. And sometimes that's the most challenging vista to endure. 2. She'll attempt to substitute you emotionally. Now, here's the subtle complexity. As your silence persists, she'll seek a replacement, not necessarily another man. Sometimes it's attention, diversion, or affirmation. She might abruptly increase social engagements. Venture out, laugh more vibrantly, share images, perhaps even converse with someone new. But upon closer examination, it's not authentic joy, it's response. She's striving to occupy the emotional void you created. Because when you stop talking to a woman who once held your focus, it's as if her emotional cadence is disrupted. She's accustomed to a specific bond, a particular rhythm of exchanges, a voice that made her feel acknowledged. And when that's removed, she attempts to supplant it with clamor. She might message friends more frequently, browse endlessly, remain awake longer. She might flirt lightly, not from desire for novelty, but to reclaim the sensation of being desired. But here's what invariably occurs. None of it replicates the original. Because what she craves isn't the messages themselves. It's the significance they carried. You provided presence, focus, reliability. These temporary remedies cannot substitute that. And inwardly, she recognizes it. She cannot voice it. But a portion of her feels hollow, even amid company. That's when uncertainty emerges. She'll question if she erred, if she pressed too firmly, if she undervalued your forbearance. And paradoxically, that's when she misses you most intensely. Not in solitude, but upon realizing no one else evokes the same response. Because once a man offers authentic energy, it imprints emotionally. No matter who she engages next, she'll draw comparisons. Not deliberately, but her heart will discern. That's why silence holds power. Not as punishment, but as a reminder of true connection by its withdrawal. 3. She'll begin probing you subtly from afar. Once the silence extends sufficiently, she'll initiate quiet tests, not verbally, but through minor behaviors. She might view your story without engaging. She'll inadvertently share something poignant, something to pique your interest. She'll project composure, yet inwardly monitor your response. This is how women assess emotional ties. Not always overtly, but via nuanced actions. She'll emit indirect cues, a lyric, a quotation, a nocturnal update. Not overtly, but sufficiently to provoke curiosity. She's anticipating you'll respond because, though unspoken, your silence has intrigued and unsettled her. She seeks confirmation of her significance. If you reply, she'll feel affirmed. If not, she'll descend into doubt. But this is where your resolve is crucial. If your silence arises from clarity, not resentment, her probes won't unsettle you. You'll detect them, but remain unresponsive. And that's what unsettles her, as she's habituated to emotional leverage, knowing which levers to pull for response. But when that fails, it prompts comprehensive reevaluation. She'll sense her influence slipping, perhaps questioning her prior importance. But that's not your intent. You're not aiming to wound her. You're demonstrating emotional maturity. Composed, stable, detached. When you cease pursuit, you halt fueling the turmoil. And that's what imparts true value. Not your words, but your silence. For, she'll seek to elicit a response from you. As your silence takes hold, she'll experience something unfamiliar lately, vulnerability. See, a woman who felt secure in your attention now confronts ambiguity. And ambiguity erodes the ego. That's when she'll resort to a common tactic, attempting to provoke a reaction. She'll begin modestly. Perhaps a seemingly casual message, "Hey, how have you been?" She's not truly inquiring. She's probing. If you reply promptly, she'll feel restored. Her influence reaffirmed. If not, it'll ache, yet compel escalation. Next, she might share content crafted to unsettle you. Perhaps appearing with another or in attire she knows would draw your gaze. It's not solely about allure. Sometimes it's about confirmation. She needs to know you care enough to observe. But here's the key, the instant you cease reacting, you become enigmatic. An enigma combined with silence, that's potent because when a man remains poised, serene, centered, she can no longer anticipate. She cannot orchestrate the dynamic. And that ignites her intrigue intensely. She might even attempt provocation through emotional maneuvers, subtle challenges to your composure or dignity. But remember, this isn't about triumph. It's about mastering your emotions. Your silence isn't aloofness, it's intentional presence. It's conveying, "I acknowledge you, but I won't follow that rhythm anymore." And gradually, that silence alters the balance. She begins to perceive your tranquility not as apathy, but as self-regard because the most resonant declaration is the one left unspoken. 5. She'll enter the regret phase. Eventually, the clamor subsides. The facade dissipates. The diversions lose appeal. And that's when regret surfaces. Not merely for your loss, but for undervaluing your steadfastness. This stage arrives slowly. It infiltrates during solitude, unobserved. Perhaps a melody evokes you. Maybe she reviews past exchanges ostensibly for a detail. But truly, she's yearning for the security you provided. Because here's the reality, you weren't merely another man. You were the one who made her feel truly perceived. You listened. You cared. You gave freely. And when that essence vanishes, it creates an irreplaceable emptiness. She'll begin re-examining past instances, not for nostalgia, but for insight. She'll reflect on her words, actions, behavior. And that's when she'll realize you weren't the issue. Her pride was. Regret is a profound instructor. It humbles even the most assured. It reveals what ego obscured, that affection isn't infinite. You'll note subtle indicators. Perhaps another message. Maybe, I was just thinking about you. Or a subdued apology. That's not solely longing. It's her attempting to mend what pride fractured. But here's where many men falter. They hasten return. They confuse regret with transformation. Resist. Because regret isn't invariably growth. Sometimes it's mere recognition. And hasty re-entry allows reversion to ease, erasing silence's lesson. So remain steadfast, attentive, discerning. If authentic, her conduct will outweigh her remorse. And if not, your silence safeguards against repetition. 6. She'll ultimately respect the man who departed. The culminating stage, which invariably requires time, is respect. As emotions subside, tactics prove ineffective, and silence endures adequately, an internal shift occurs. She views you anew. Not as controllable, not as perpetually pursuing, but as the man who could withdraw peacefully. Because men who depart without acrimony embody subtle fortitude. And women sense that profoundly. It's uncommon. It's compelling. It's stabilizing. She'll recall your composure, your avoidance of conflict, pursuit, or pleading. You simply allowed outcomes to unfold naturally. That degree of emotional mastery isn't overlooked. It endures in her recollection. She may never express it directly. She may never affirm your correctness. But she'll hold you in esteem. She'll reference you distinctly. Even if progressed, she'll measure others against you. Not romantically, but as, he managed it with true maturity. That's authentic evolution. Not silence from rage, but from self-assurance. You illustrated something exceptional, what detachment entails when rooted in strength, not frailty. You ceased justifying. You stopped seeking comprehension. And that distinguished love from clinging, pursuit from bond. And paradoxically, that's typically when she genuinely desires you. Not due to your absence, but your development. She comprehends your silence wasn't punitive. It preserved your serenity. And that's the silence that resonates long after departure. At the end of the day, your silence is not a weapon. It's wisdom. It's the interval between reaction and self-respect. So the next time she withdraws, don't pursue clamor. Let the silence articulate. Because sometimes the lesson isn't in what you say, it's in what you